Here are the ingredients for making a 1-gallon batch of pumpkin ale. There are 2.5 pounds of grain, which includes pale malt 2 row, crystal malt 60, flaked oats, and chocolate malt. I will be using canned pumpkin pie, which will be baked first and then added to the boil, maple syrup and pumpkin pie spice, which are added towards the end of the boil, magnum hops and fuggle hops, and dry yeast. I have started with baking the canned pumpkin. This is at a temperature of 350 degrees for an hour. And I am also heating the water up for the single infusion mash. The initial strike temperature will be 152.9 degrees. When the 2.5 pounds of grain are added, that should drop it down to 148 degrees, which will be the temperature that I'll be maintaining for 75 minutes. I have just added the grains to the water, and looks like my math was right on. The temperature has dropped just about to 148. A little hard to see on this thermometer, but I am going to maintain this temperature for the next 75 minutes and let this steep. Okay, we have finished steeping and we've brought the wort up to a boil. Put the bag with the grains over in another bowl just to drain out a little bit, and I'll pour off the remaining liquid from that into the boil. Measured out the magnum hops, and that is the baked pumpkin, which we will add to the start of the boil. We are down to the last 10 minutes of the boil. I've been keeping a rolling boil for about 50 minutes. It is time to add the fuggles hops and the pumpkin spice, and then in another 5 minutes I'll add the maple syrup, and that'll finish up the boil. The boil has finished, and the wort has been chilling in an ice bath to get it down to a temperature of 67 degrees. This is the temperature required for the yeast to be added. Now that the beer has cooled, everything that comes in contact with it from this point forward until bottling needs to be sanitized. This is a tub with star sand diluted with water, and this is the primary fermentation bucket that will be used for the next 4 days. This is the initial specific gravity measurement using a hydrometer. We are at 1.066, and that is just slightly higher than our initial target of 1.063. That is still very good though. The beer has now been added to the primary fermentation bucket, and the yeast has been pitched. The top is now sealed with an airlock, and this is where the beer will stay for the next 4 days. After that, it'll be racked to a secondary fermentation, which is this gallon carboy, and that's where the beer will spend another 10 days. After that, the beer will be ready for bottling.